going to look through the path. First one is not here, second one is not here, second one is not here, and then it's going to check it. Now, let me do this thing, okay? Let me do this thing. Okay, see the desktop, and we have the program here. What's the program? base64.sh. Let's just not move the sh1 because oh no, we can move it, I think. What was the one that we have? Okay, test run. Okay, test run. If we say test run here, if we want to run test run, it's going to run. So what you can do here is you can move the move. Let's do the sudo because I'm not sure it's going to move without the sudo. We can move the base64.d/h to let's say, okay, home user local /binary. Okay, base64. Okay. Then I want to look, because I think there's hundreds of binaries there. I want to look for the one that I had, which is B64D, and it is there. So right now, if we are in a different directory, I think, and bash base64.sh. Yeah, we didn't pass it anything. But now if you pass it the, what was it? The CyberX one? Yeah, I think if we pass it this one now. It has decoded it. Although right now, if you look, guys, at the directory, we are in home directory. Let's say we go to desktop directory, the download, sorry. Documents, for example. Okay. Current documents. Again, if we execute the same command, it's still going to execute. Why does it execute? Because in bash, as I told you, the bash shell is going to look at the first directory. Do we have it here? Yes, we have it here. Then we're going to execute. If we don't have it, we look here and we look here and we look here and we look here and we look here, and until we check the last directory. And once it is not in the last directory, then we cannot execute it, and it will tell you that no such file found or directory. And this is useful when sometimes you can modify the path variable. Okay, you can modify the path variable, and or for example, sometimes you can have an access to this directory, but you can't have any access to the rest of the directories. So you know that there is a command here called ls. There is an ls command, and it does you a list of the files. You can go with the C++ and you can create another ls command. You can, it's a malicious program. You can make a hack with that program. You can make it execute a shell. You can make it print anything you'd like to do, and then you can put it in this directory. So once you type ls, it's going to check in your first directory and it's going to execute your malicious program, because the real ls is existing in the directory that is after the first one in the path. So this is a good thing when you have an access or a control over the path variable or over the directories that are in the path variable. You can create an exact copy of the program in the one that's going to check at the first. It's going to check this. You have an access over this, but you don't have an access over this. You can make your malicious program in this directory, and then the bash is going to look at the first malicious directory, and then, oh my God, I have ls. Ls is cool. I'm going to execute it. Sometimes it can execute it with a sudo bit or with a GUID group sudo bit, and then you can have a good shell. That was just a simple time filler, guys, and I leave the mic with Anas. He's going to talk with us today about burp speed, and he's going to talk with us about bug bounty hunting. Anas is a very, very experienced one. I know he doesn't like to talk about himself, but I think you guys should know this. When you go to HackerOne, HackerOne, okay, I want you guys to check who is Anas, just to know that we have legends in our company. Let's find the scoreboard. Oh, you don't even see mine. Okay, let me share that. Let me share it with you. Anas, get ready while I show them something. Okay. Anas, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So this is, I think, Anas' account. So Anas is a very, very experienced guy in bug bounty hunting. We can learn a lot from him. So we'll leave the mic with Anas, and he's going to tell us about his experience in bug bounty hunting.
Thank you, Abdullah. So welcome everybody, and very sorry for being late. I had an urgent situation, and I would like to start now. First of all, I'll share my screen.
Now we can see your screen, but your mic is a bit noisy, I think. Anas?
Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we can see your screen, but your mic...
Noisy?
Yeah, a bit noisy.
Okay, 1 minute. I will change it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it is okay.
Is it better right now?
Yeah, it is good. It's good.
Okay. So, does my sound echo or something, or it's okay?
A bit echo, but we can hear you.
Okay. So, which screen can you see? Actually, I don't know. Do you see the desktop or my Chrome?
Your desktop.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Anas Roubi. I've been working as a bug bounty hunter for almost 5 years now, and I've been working almost with HackerOne. If you are familiar with bug bounty platforms, most famous ones are HackerOne and bugcrowd. I also worked with some private companies and with some independent companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. So before I start, is anybody here with us with any experience in bug hunting or penetration testing? Because they are quite similar in terms of the methodology that you do. So anybody with us has any experience about bug hunting or penetration testing? Or had any experience before, worked with a team or anything? Okay, everybody seems quiet, so never mind. First of all, I'd like to tell what is actually bug hunting. So I will give an introduction about how HackerOne works, so you can understand in more detail how a bug bounty hunter works. So this is my profile in HackerOne. This is actually my dashboard, not my profile. I will open my profile just a minute. So this is how a hacker profile looks at HackerOne. This is his status right now. So my status is in the last 90 days is very bad. Actually, I only got 55 reputation points. So in all time, this is the most important one. You can check the researcher's profile all time from the day he joined HackerOne, which you can find here, till now. So this is my, you can say, my statistics on HackerOne and the rank and everything. So how HackerOne works is, first of all, you need to sign in. After you sign in, you will find a list of companies. Each company, as for example here, Xiaomi, will have a policy, as you can see here. So they tell you what's in scope. In scope means what are the assets or websites. Assets can be websites, mobile applications, servers, whatever, that are available in this bug bounty program. So for example, if you want to make bug bounty at Google, google.com is in their bug bounty list, but some other domains like withgoogle.com isn't in their scope. So if you find a vulnerability in withgoogle.com, they won't pay you and they won't even care about it to fix it, because that's not as important to them as google.com. So first thing you should look at when you look at a company policy is the scope. And you can see here, for example, Xiaomi has this scope in their websites. So me.com and Taiwan, Russia, India, don't know what this one, sorry, whatever. So how to read a scope actually, for example, if you went down here, so this is the detailed scope. So once you find star before the domain, this means any subdomain of this domain. So for example, if there is a subdomain called blah, 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 whatever, .my.com, it's inside the scope of this program, but anything after the .com isn't in scope. So it must, the domain itself, I think most of you knows the difference between a domain and a subdomain. So the domain, mostly, in most cases, it will be the last point, the last period, and this is the top level domain, and this is the domain itself. So my.com, this is the domain, and anything before my.com is a subdomain of the domain of the top level domain. Sometimes top level domains like .com, .co, .uk, it consists of 2 points, but in most cases it will just have 1 point like that. So you just in beginning you consider the top level domain to be the last part of the website before the slash, and between the slash and the period, and the part before it is the domain. Anything before that is the subdomain. So here it tells you that anything .xiaomi.me.com is in domain. So for example, if you want to Google this, if you want to make a Google search to check which websites are included, so for example, if you make site and star.me.com, and site is a Google Doc that will filter the results based on their domain name. So now I'm telling it to give me any subdomain of my.com. Just press enter so you will understand more. So www is actually a subdomain of my.com, and www is the default one. So for example, vb.my.com, this must be a forum or something. Whatever, doesn't seem to be working. It starts whatever. So anything. Anyway, this is how you can find subdomains of a domain. If you want to be more specific, for example, you want to check in URL. I found actually an open redirect on Xiaomi.com that was exactly like that. I googled site.com, star.my.com. Then in URL, I just added URL and I found the open redirect. It was something like that. So as you can see, this is www.xiaomi.me.com/byphone/me3 URL. So for example, if you're familiar with vulnerability types, this is the first way you should look for open redirects vulnerabilities. That if you looked in further, you may find authentication bypass or something. So for example, home.my.com, s1.my.com, search.my.com, and so on. Another example is the Android APK. So for example, if you just Google this one, this is that. I don't know if it will come out or not. Okay, so this is the signature of their application. So if you download this APK, you can test it to find mobile-based vulnerabilities. And also, I don't know if they have iOS ones. So they have IoT. Nope. I don't think, no, they don't actually have iOS applications. Maybe they're banned from Apple or something, whatever. So anyway, this is how you read a scoop in the policy. Second thing you should look into a policy of the program is what is the vulnerabilities in scope and what are the vulnerabilities outside of the scope. So if you went table of contents, this code guideline, general vulnerability assessment, vulnerability reward and structure. This is actually the table that they will pay you for the vulnerability risk that you will find. So if it's an important business vulnerability, it will vary between 1,000 and 2,000. If it's a general business vulnerability, between 400 and 1,000 edge, which is the low impact one, between 150 to 300. They're actually categories of their scope. So for example, if you check back here, this APK, for example, is actually medium, and this one is critical. So if you went back here, for their medium assists, like this one, this is the bounties that they will pay, and they won't pay for edge, what did they call it? Yes, edge business vulnerabilities. So as you can see here, you can check the importance of this assist that they added. For example, domain my.com is critical, so they will apply which table again? Yes, this is the critical assist vulnerability. So they will pay for all three: important and general and edge business. The high also they will pay for edge business, but as you can see, as you go down, as the bounties will be less than before. So this is how you can read the scope. Actually, the scope is a bit messy, so we'll find another program that's easier than this one to read. Okay, Brave software. Brave is actually a web browser. If you are familiar with it, it's a very famous one. It's known for its security. I don't really think it's that secure, but they claim to be the most secure website web browser out there. Anyway, as you can see here, it's more clearer. So this is the updates in their scope. So they added a Brave Android beta in scope. They excluded DOS bugs. DOS is actually denial of service attacks. This is the bounty schedule. That's how much they're going to pay you if you find a specific vulnerability. This is the disclosure policy. Disclosure policy meaning if you find a vulnerability, are you allowed to share it or not? The reason I actually opened my profile in another tab, it's an incognito tab, because I can't open my profile in once I'm logged in, because there are confidential programs that will show up and confidential reports that will show in my profile once I open. So unfortunately, I can't open it right now from here. So I just opened it in incognito tab, so the private stuff won't show up anyway. So this is the in-scope security issues, any current release. So they tell you that they are interested in vulnerabilities in Brave browser, which excludes Chromium-based vulnerabilities. So if you are familiar with how browsers work, most browsers are even Mozilla-based or Chromium-based. So Tor, for example, is a Mozilla-based, one of the most famous Mozilla-based other than Firefox. And for most other browsers are actually Chromium-based. So the latest version of Edge is Chromium-based browser. Brave is also Chromium-based. So they tell you if you find a vulnerability affecting Brave and it's in the same time affecting the Chromium browser core or something, it's not included in their bug bounty program, because in this case you should report it to the Chromium team, not to Brave, because Brave has no control over the Chromium core itself. They can only download the core and change it to adjust their own browser. They cannot change the core in terms of its vulnerability, or they can change, but it's not preferred to change the core. You should report it to Chromium, and Chromium will update their browser, and then Brave will take the new updated version and apply their changes to make their browser. So anyway, here is the out of scope products. So for example, I think this is a link bundle. I think this must be a plugin or something. So it's something about Android. So they tell you that this assist is out of scope. So you are not allowed to search in vulnerabilities in these specific applications. So our legacy, don't know. So their iOS browser is not in scope. Jira Help Desk is not in scope. Mount Desktop Framework, don't know what exactly is Mount, but you can search more further in the links they gave you. But anyway, you shouldn't be that much interested because these aren't even in scope. So first of all, you are not allowed to search in them. Some other programs will tell you that you're allowed to search, but you won't get paid for bounties if you find vulnerabilities in these assets. But in this case, they're excluded, and you are not allowed to find vulnerabilities in them, and you won't be paid even if you find whatever vulnerability out there. So the other things are the bug classes that are out of scope. So this is a very important part that you should read in every program. So for example, login, logout CSRF. So CSRF is a vulnerability that an attacker will make a script that will interact with a web application and make it do action pretending to be the user. So it's actually a shortcut for cross-site request forgery. It's more. I will show you a vulnerability I found in mail.ru, CSRF vulnerability, so you will get more familiar with how this actually works. So this closed. Okay, this one. This is a CSRF send message. So I found a vulnerability on what was the assets? Okay, street combats.my.ru messages. I can use this HTML form to make the user send a message pretending to be someone else to anyone and with anybody. So the message body. So I can make the user submit this form. So for example, if I had a website, anas.com, I can add this website in my website, anas.com. And once the user opens anas.com, I will auto-submit this form, and he will auto-send a message with his mail.ru account without interacting with his application. So I'm actually the one who's sending this vulnerability. So this tells you that login and logout CSRF vulnerabilities are out of scope. So for example, most websites actually have this vulnerability and they don't consider it that much risky, because just logging a user out of their profile without them actually wanting to isn't that much of a problem. So a very simple example, I think HackerOne actually is vulnerable to this one. So if you just copied the logout URL, I'll test. I'm not sure if it will work or not, but mostly it will. So wait a minute. So just copy the sign out URL, copy link address. So once I open this website, once I open this URL, and you can send this URL as a shortcut. So let's just make it more professional quickly. So you will send this URL to your friend and tell him that this is a very good website, whatever, open it and you will find something cool. So once you open it, okay, page not found. I think I was not logged out. Let's double check. Okay, I was not logged out. So most websites actually will be vulnerable to this one. So once you just open the path, which is user sign out or whatever the sign out path was, you'll be logged out of your account. So an attacker can use this to log a user out of his account. Actually, the most dangerous case that this vulnerability can be used is, for example, when you are at Google Drive and you are downloading a 15 gigabyte file or something, and your friend is pranking you. He sends you, just click this website, and once you open, you will be logged out, and your download will crash, and you will need to re-download again, and so on. Also, CSRF login vulnerabilities is quite similar. Where is the other browser? 1 minute. Okay, so CSRF is a similar vulnerability in login. So you will create a HTML form that will make the user log into his account or to your account without them wanting to. And why it's not a security risk? Because letting the user log into your account isn't actually that much dangerous unless there is something inside your account. For example, if you find a self-XSS, you can use this self-XSS to make the user log in into your account. And once he's logged into your account, this self-XSS will be executed on him. But if it's by its own login CSRF, it's not considered a security risk as by its own. It must be combined or chained with other vulnerabilities in order to be a valid vulnerability. So you can read this in general. So here also you have self-XSS. It's out of scope of Brave's program. So actually self-XSS is one of the vulnerabilities that Google accepts, and they will even pay you 1,337 if you find. But as you can see, most small budget programs won't accept self-XSS because by its own, it's not that much security risk. They consider it as a very low security issue unless you can chain it with another vulnerability to make it exploitable to attack other users or something. Also, you can read, so they tell you social media account takeover in our websites. So there's that famous vulnerability. For example, if you open this website and you scroll down to, so for example, this part, you can find here Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram, Rus, feed, okay, whatever. So if you want to open the website and you just check their Facebook page and their Facebook page didn't even exist, and this username was available, so this means you can go to Facebook, create your own Facebook page over this ID, and once the user opens this website, he opens Facebook, he will actually find your phishing page, and then you can tell him, please send me your credentials or whatever. It's not actually that much of a security issue, but it's preferred not to have in most of websites. Actually, most of the websites will accept this kind of risk, because when you see Facebook here, follow us, it should be a trusted source that you should trust in giving your information to this page, because it's not actually a phishing email or something. It's the official Facebook page as they claim to be. So if you find a website that's telling you that we have a social media at these accounts, and you opened one, and once you open, it's actually a non-existing page, and you can claim the page with the same username or something, it's a security issue, but it's not that high of a security issue. So Brave, for example, they don't consider it as a security issue. So this is how you read the assist scope. So this is assist scope. This is the vulnerability type scope, and some websites also, they will tell you which vulnerability types are in scope. So I will check if there are any here. Some smart sheet. Okay, there's no here. So anyway, just some websites will tell you an example of what kind of vulnerabilities that they will accept. So I will open now how to report a vulnerability once you found in an application. So for example, if you open WordPress is the most famous CMS in the world. It's mostly for blogging, and it can be enhanced with any other plugin that can make the website a non-blogging website. So they have a bug bounty program at HackerOne. They first used to work with automatic. HackerOne automatic. So this is the old program that used to manage. It's actually the founder, the founder team of WordPress. So first, when you find a vulnerability on WordPress, you should report it to automatic. But now they made a separate program for WordPress by itself. It's also you can report in either automatic or WordPress, but it's preferred to just report it to WordPress themselves. So anyway, if you find a vulnerability in the core of WordPress itself, you should report it here. And once you report it, they will check it, and they will tell you whether it's valid or not. And this is the scope. They have everything. So for example, if I open this self-accessible vulnerability I found in WordPress, to let you know how to write a vulnerability report. Actually, the report is private. Okay, 1 minute. I will show you one in the activity. So actually, HackerOne changes their layout every day. So I forgot how to open activity. Just write it manual. Activity. So I think it's like that. Okay, so here, for example, is the latest activity. Activity actually is hacker activity. Okay, is hacker activity. You can check here the latest published vulnerabilities. So this is the disclosed one, the published one. Published means they weren't reported on HackerOne, or they were reported on a private program on HackerOne, and then the founder decided to publish the report. So instead of making an independent write-up on his blog or something, they just came to HackerOne and they tell them, we found a vulnerability on blah, 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 and this is how it was, and we want to publish it on our profile. This is the bug bounty in general. So bug bounty is the bugs that were paid, and this is all, even if they weren't paid, they weren't accepted or whatever. Don't know what's the problem with the network. So anyway, we'll just open a vulnerability like this one to get more familiar with how a vulnerability report should be written. Okay, so this is how you start. You start with a summary of your vulnerability. So he says, I found an XSS reflected on this domain. So if you opened Pixiv. Okay, I think it's Pixiv, whatever. So now, what was the domain again? Okay, www.pixiv.com. So as you can see, it's actually in, this is .net. Actually, it's not in the scope, but they accepted it anyway. Sometimes the teams would discuss internally whether they would accept an out of scope if the asset is not mentioned in out of scope or in scope in the scope. In some cases, they would accept it. So as you can see here, he found a vulnerability in pixiv.com, and only pixiv.net is in scope. Pixiv.net, pixiv.net, pixiv.net. So let's just google.com, search for .com, maybe somewhere else. Okay, it's not here. So it's actually not mentioned in the policy in general, but he just told them it's your website and it's not mentioned out of scope. So he just made a try, you know. So this is a report. He tested it on Chrome iOS version 13.1, and this is the steps to reproduce. So it doesn't go here, and the payload. This is the payload, and this is another payload, and this is another payload. Wait, go to here, add the payload in the URL. I think these are interchangeably. So this is just will alert. Confirm is the same as alert function. So it sometimes bypasses the firewall. If the firewall just blocks the word alert. So for example, if we try alert, for those who are familiar with XSS, whatever. So this is an alert. Confirm is exactly the same. Confirm makes the same. Prompt actually asks also for asks for an input from the user. So here you're asked for an input. It's saved actually in the prompt. So for example, x equals prompt 1, enter. Now you say 111. X now is 111. So anyway, so maybe the firewall was blocking the alert keyword. I don't know. He's writing here. Actually, this is a very terrible report, but I will tell you what's the problems in it. So first of all, he adds two payloads as two separate steps, which isn't actually a step. It's just another payload. And here he says the payload is alert document.cookie, and here he says the payload is confirm. So actually, you should just use one payload. And also here he says, okay, here he says the payload is alert document.cookie, and he says add payload, confirm. And here he says it's the same URL, I think. And now he says the other payload. If the payloads are interchangeably, you should only do one, because you should make your report as simple as possible, because you don't want to confuse the security team. You don't want them to have to struggle reading your report actually. So here in the search bar, add. Okay, it's actually the same. I think they're all the same thing. Here you could just simplify it by saying, just open Pixiv. Pixiv. Wait, guys, this dude is crazy. He's writing here, this is the website, and here the domain is actually pivx.net. So I'll just open another report, because this is actually a terrible one. So actually, the vulnerability was really found on pixiv.net, not .com, but I don't know. I think he just copy pasted an old report he made and made some changes. So it went like that. There are too many issues in the report. This isn't even a valid report. They should tell him, please write a better report than that, so we can address your vulnerability. Anyway, so this is a CSRF vulnerability in TikTok. So if we went down here, I think it's not published. Oh, yeah. It's not published. So anyway, I think you got an idea. Just not to waste more time, you got an idea of how you should write vulnerability. You just write a summary of the vulnerability. I found the blah 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 vulnerability on xss.com, and then you write the details about the vulnerability. So you write go to website.com/user/whatever. Then open the search bar, write xxx whatever, and you will get an alert. This is an example payload of an XSS vulnerability. Also, it's preferred to send a proof of concept, which actually they must write it with POC, POC they call it. So you should write a POC of your vulnerability next to your report. So for example, you write the steps, and then you write, this is an example of an XSS alerting once you open, like that. So for example, this one, the better way to write it is to write this one. You should change the domain to the right one, and here you should write go to pvx.net and add the payload, blah, 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 in the search box, the payload will execute. This is the steps. There are only 2 steps to execute this one, and then you write here the POC or poke. They write it like that, poke of your vulnerability. You provide them with this link, so you tell them once you open this link, you will find what I'm talking about, the vulnerability. And there are also images. If your vulnerability is hard to explain without photos, it's better to send a photo with it, so it will be more clearer. But if it can be described easily without photos, it's not preferred to add photos, because you should make your report as readable as possible, and you should avoid multiplying stuff that aren't actually needed. And this is actually just some tips of how you should write a good report. Okay, so actually this is the submit button of the vulnerability. So you open this website, for example, this program, you check their scope, you find a vulnerability on, for example, this website. So you go here, submit a vulnerability. It's actually a very simple process. I'll just show you right now. Okay, just copy this link. You need to be logged in order to show you why this like. Okay, 1 minute. So for example, if I just opened paste and go. So once you open this website, they will tell you, okay, choose the assets. For example, I found on booth.pm the vulnerability type or the weakness. So for example, if it's a XSS vulnerability, you just search for XSS, and there are 4 types of XSS on this website. I think this is new, whatever. So mostly it will be whether reflected, stored, or DOM-based. So for example, if it's a stored vulnerability on your username or something, you can select the severity or not. It's optional. If you don't know the severity, you can use the calculator, the attack vector, the attack complexity, the privilege required, the user interaction scope, confidentially, integrity, availability. Then you write the title, XXS in what asset virtual, okay, booth.pm, or let's just make it stored XSS in booth.pm. Now you write the summary. Hi, I found a stored XSS on your home page of booth.pm that would allow the attacker to change and manipulate. Don't know, I think it's wrong spelled. Okay, manipulate the page JavaScript. So this, for example, the summary. Okay. So now the steps to reproduce, go to both.pm. This is actually a markdown base, so if you want to learn how to write in this markdown, which is a write-up on how to use it. So the steps should be written like that, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, and it would be ordered automatically. So write in the search box so it's an example. Actually, we said it's stored, so let's just make it stored. Open. Okay, let's consider there's a history that all users can see. Open the history of searches, and you will find the up. So this is an example of vulnerability on this website. Once you search for this one, there's a history and on their website, and this history can be viewed by all the users. So once you search for this payload, any other user that will open the history will find your payload and it will execute on his end. So you can also add POC. You will say just check this URL TP search history. So for example, The poke means once you open this URL I gave you, you will just find the pop-up directly. So if there's a way that you can make your payload execute once you open a URL, you should say. If it's not, you can just say you must do the steps in order to get an alert. You can't just provide the team with a direct URL that they can prove with it that there's a vulnerability. Okay, there aren't references right now, no attachments, it's very clear, so no need to include anything. You can also just add a picture of the alert to make it clearer. Okay, the impact, you add the impact, for example, the attacker can happen. And hijack what's happening with the keyboard? Hijack the user's cookies, for example. So this is an example of a report. Now you should go down and you can read it in the right format. So here, this is a title: stored access in booth.pm. Summary: hi, I found an access on your home page of booth.pm that will allow the attacker to change and manipulate the page JavaScript. Steps to reproduce: go to booth.com, write in the search box, blah, 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 and open the history of the search, and you will find the pop-up. So this is a POC of the vulnerability. If you open the search right now, because I just injected my payload, you'll find the alert popping up and the impact. The user can use this XSS to hijack the user's cookies. So actually, the impact should be determined after you find the vulnerability. You can check what's the maximum you can get out of this vulnerability. It's not just not all XSS will allow you to steal the cookies from the user. So you should make sure that this specific XSS will allow you to steal the cookies from the user, and the cookies aren't HTTP only or whatever. So this is an example. For sure, I won't send this one because it's a fake one. We're just showing you how to write it. Okay, I'll just now go fast with other. This is actually the markdown you can read. So this is how you write numbering. This is how you write a list. This is how you make a link. You add this one, which is the link name, and this is the link URL. Okay, a photo. Where's the photo? This is the code. You add the backtick between the code, and if you added 3 backticks, it would be multi-line code like this one. Where is it? Okay, this one. You can also add a backtick and the language, 3 backticks, then the language, which will format the code you've written in the correct language. And you can read this, it's actually helpful. So this is how you add an image. So you add this to curly brackets, and once you open an image, for example, this one, let's just open it. Once you upload an image, you'll find here an ID of the image. So this is, for example, F1. So you add this F1 inside the curly brackets, and it will be displayed as like that. If you just added F1, it will be added as the link to your image. But if you added it between curly brackets, it will be displayed inside your report. Also, there are changes all the time on the HackerOne features in reporting. So recently they added here, you can see you can record your vulnerability inside. You can also upload a video right now. So actually, they improve their website day by day. So the other most famous one is bugcrowd. Let's quickly check it. So I'm actually not active at all in bugcrowd, but I'll just go through it right now. So this is your dashboard, which is my profile right now, all-time points, the current rank. Actually, this isn't even a rank because I only found, I think, 5 or 6 vulnerabilities on websites here. I rarely work on bugcrowd. So this is your submissions, your payment details, the leaderboard. So for example, if we open the leaderboard right now, this is actually, this user is the first on HackerOne at bugcrowd. He's a beast. So he's the first right now in bugcrowd, and he was also the first in HackerOne. You can find here the details about him, the companies he found vulnerabilities in. You can, for example, here you find the company, but I can't open it right now because there are private companies that shouldn't be disclosed. So for example, this is a company profile. So here you can submit a report. This is the details. This is the program exclusions, the same meaning as out of scope, terms and conditions. Actually, this is a very terrible policy. Let's open something better. Okay, Bitfinder, MasterCard. Okay, Jet. This one is the third one. Jet. Why it's not opening? It's closed down. You can see here. I can't move to it. Okay. Whatever you can see next to the 117 points, there is a label telling closed. So the program is closed. You can't open it anymore. Okay. This one seems to be open. Let's check if we can. Okay, this is the beta policy. These are the targets. Targets mean the in-scope assists. Okay, the target. This is the vulnerability. So as I told you, some companies provide you with an example of the in-scope vulnerabilities. So here's an example: RCE, XXE, file inclusion, command injection, SQL injection. Okay, this is the in-scope assets again. I think. Yep, it's again. So this is exclusive. So they don't accept email spoofing vulnerabilities. And they don't accept physical tampering of our hardware devices, load testing, DDoS and this and those, wireless jamming, whatever. This is actually their PGP key if you want to send them a private email. So you should just read the policy before you go work with the team, because sometimes if you didn't read it right, you may get into trouble or something. Also, some companies tell you what's their website is running over. So here it tells you it's running over Windows, ASP.NET, React.js, jQuery, Microsoft IIS. So this is actually the server details. Actually, it's a wildcard domain. So I don't know why do they even provide you with the technologies, because for sure every subdomain will have its own technologies other than the other. So they mostly will mean that the home domain uses these technologies, but for sure if you open, for example, let's check what subdomains they have. So if you open this one, there's a Chrome, I think it's also found in Firefox plugin. It's called, what is it called? Webplizer. Yes, it tells you the technologies used in the website. So we just clicked it right now. These are the technologies. Okay, they said it uses ASP.NET, IIS, React. So that's right. So now let's just check a subdomain. So if we just go here, site, star.k, subdomain. Let's just exclude www. Enter. Okay, this is PSAP. So now let's check. Okay, as you can see, this subdomain is running over Apache PHP. So this only represents the home domain. These technologies, which are the tags, they only represent the home domain, not the server in general, because as you can see, another subdomain is running on different technologies. So WordPress actually, so MySQL, Babel, Apache, JavaScript, jQuery. So I think this is a general cover on bug bounty platforms. Let's now just go quick check on other, not platforms, but other private, not private, wait, independent bug bounty programs like Google and Facebook. So if you just go Google VRP, so this is the Google, Google Vulnerability Reward Program. This is actually an independent vulnerability reward program, or you can say bug bounty program that is managed by Google. You find a vulnerability, you can come here with the, I think it's Google Vulns. I think this is the shortcut for sending a vulnerability. Okay, it's not available anymore. So anyway, don't really remember right now how can we send a vulnerability to Google, but this is their policy. Wait, I will. Okay. I think it's with something with google.com. What is the whole thing? Okay. Okay, it's the leaderboard. Here, the complete list. So opened any profile, let's just check where this frame come from. View frame, okay, it's bug hunter with google.com. So this is the URL. Once I open it, you can go sign in and then you can send your vulnerability. Here is submit link. I think they changed it. G.co /vulns. Okay, this is the URL that you should use to submit. Okay, this is the, now you write the details, and you should first, I think, log in something. Okay, whatever. This is how you report a vulnerability to Google. Now, lastly, we'll take Facebook as an example. Facebook, you go to facebook.com/whitehat. Okay, this is the leaderboard they have. Leaderboard is the persons who found vulnerabilities on Facebook.com. So these are the people in 2020. So just give me a second, I will log in to show you how to report, and then we wrap it up. So they aren't sending a code, so just ignore it right now. Actually, you should just open here, then report vulnerability form. They aren't sending me the two-factor authentication code. Don't know why. Just send it. Okay, text me login code. I think the server is taking too long. Okay, okay. Okay, so here's how you report a vulnerability. You go here to report a vulnerability. This is the details. You can find your researcher profile. You can make a test account. You can check the thanks page, which are the hackers that found vulnerabilities on Facebook. So this is the list. For example, in 2019, there were 230 hackers who found vulnerabilities on Facebook. 2018, 211. Now, this year, the year hasn't ended yet, but seems like it's less than the other 2 years. Don't know if it will get more or not. So anyway, this was about it for today. So now let's open discussion time. If anybody has a question or something about what we talked about today, or if anybody is interested in doing bug hunting or something, so we can speak or ask these questions, or if not, we can end right now. So
okay, guys, questions are open. You can ask questions, and while you ask questions, I am going to share the forum link for the attendance, okay? And questions are for you guys.
So, any questions? Actually, can you hear me, guys, or because nobody asked anything from the time I started? So, can you hear me?
I was hearing you all the time.
Okay.
Your voice was perfectly clear.
Okay. So, no questions? Anybody
Maybe
want?
I have a question. Like, during your experience, what was the most common vulnerability that you'd find in all the websites? I think that everyone is not going to look for it.
Okay, I'll just show you my last year review.
Okay.
So this is, for example, my last review. I actually almost didn't work at all in 2020, unfortunately. So I only got 700 and almost 50 reputation. This is my signal. Signal actually represents the amount of vulnerabilities that was accepted. So it varies between 7 and -10. Actually, you won't ever get -10 because -10 is spam. So I don't think that you will spam some teams to get this signal, but it varies. You can say between 7 and -5. -5 is a non-valid vulnerability, 0 informative vulnerability. So if you find a researcher with the signal 7, means all his vulnerabilities was valid and they were accepted. If it's -5, means all his vulnerabilities was fake and not a single vulnerability he sent was actually accepted. But it's like most researchers are between 3 and 4. Actually, my single this year is good. In my total signal is less than that. I guess it's 3.9 or something. Let's just check it. This is all time. So my check where is it? Oh, yeah, it's 3.9. So this is, it tells you it's between -10 and 7, but you just shouldn't consider -9, -10. So it's between -5 and 7. okay, here's the statistics, and here's the most common vulnerabilities I found. 6 vulnerabilities of information disclosure. Information disclosure vulnerability is one of the vulnerabilities you should start looking in, because there isn't a vulnerability or there isn't steps that you should do in order to find information disclosure, because it's mostly about logical vulnerabilities. So it's actually rare to find to get a duplicate in an information disclosure vulnerability. A duplicate actually means that you are not the first one sending this vulnerability. So if I find an access on my website, or sorry, in any website.com, whatever website.com, I found access in the search bar and I reported it. After 2 days, you find the same vulnerability and reported it. They will tell you, thank you for your effort, but this is actually a duplicate vulnerability. Another researcher has found it before you, and we are working on the fix. So it's actually disappointing sometimes when you work hard, then you find your vulnerability was duplicate. I actually found sometimes RCE, remote communication vulnerabilities, and they are duplicates. So it's actually sometimes broken you. But once you get better, once you will find unique vulnerabilities that aren't actually duplicate and other users found it, because once you have your own methodology and you have your own techniques of hunting, you will actually be more, you will actually decrease the amount of duplicates you will get. So here, for example, I found 6 information disclosure vulnerabilities, 6 stored access vulnerabilities. Accesses also, it's not the most vulnerability that you won't get duplicates in, but it's the most vulnerability that you will find. So actually, most of the current websites, they still have accesses, because there are tons of tricks that you can still use to gain access vulnerability on some website. There are libraries every day that we found to be vulnerable to accesses. So you should Google these libraries, find how to use these vulnerabilities in them to exploit it on some other websites. So I mostly focus on information disclosure, SQL injection, but SQL injection is very rare to find. But once you found one, it's also very rare to find duplicates. I found 2 SQL injections in company recently, and one was duplicate, unfortunately, because it was very clear, but the other wasn't. So SQL injection, because it's not a very well-known vulnerability, or not well-known, it's not very it's not commonly found vulnerability. So if you found a vulnerability that's not commonly found, it's less likely to be duplicate. So if you find an access in the search box on a website, look, like 99% it will be duplicate, because everybody looks in this location the first time you open the website. So if you wasn't the first user to open this website, it will mostly just be a duplicate. So that the most important advice in this area is just to create your own strategy, use your own way of searching for vulnerabilities. Don't just copy what others do. So there's Nahamsek. He has a very good tutorials on how to make HackerOne. Nahamsek. So
also, while you go to Nahamsek account, we have another question from Muhammad Imsa. He is asking how long it takes for you to make a pen test, or to become a pen tester, or to perform a pen testing process. And I leave the answer to you, but I will add after you.
Okay, so just to wrap up your question, this is actually Hamsek. He has live hacking on Twitch. He also shared the same on YouTube, so you can see his methodologies of hacking, how he finds how he uses his techniques. But if you follow the same steps he tell you, actually a lot of people now learned his methodology, and they are using the same. So it's better to build your own one, to think, to be creative, think like nobody else thought, so you can find vulnerabilities that nobody before you found, and that were, for example, Facebook. If you want to find a vulnerability on Facebook, it's very hard to find, because it's actually most of the typical types of vulnerabilities on Facebook, they were already found by other researchers. So if you just went there trying to find an access with typical payload, you're just duplicating thousands and thousands of other researchers that did the same thing before you. So if you want to find a vulnerability on Facebook, you should be creative to find, to try to hack the logic. They call it hack the logic. So you find a way to manipulate with the Facebook application's logic in order to perform a malicious attack. Also, you can still find like the recent image tragic vulnerability on Facebook, which was very strange when it was found by the researcher. I think his name is Andrew or something, because it's a very common vulnerability to have this RCE, and strangely Facebook didn't update it, so it was strange. But you also have to be very lucky to find a vulnerability like this one, and that's about the first question. So just think like nobody before you thought, and don't just copy others' work. Don't just take payloads and throw it everywhere. So a payload is actually something like this is this is like this. For example, let's consider this an access payload. So some script keys just go to every website, submit. Any form they found, submit, till they find a pop-up. Actually, this is very noob works, so you should learn what's going on behind the hook. You should learn what's actually going on, not just get some payload and paste it everywhere till you find a vulnerability. So be creative. Same question about how long it takes for you to start up as a pen tester. Actually, there isn't a time that you can call yourself, it's now the time that I can work as a pen tester. It's more about when it's more about that you should always learn. You should always be in contact with the community. You should check what's coming, check what's the latest updates, check what's coming new, the new type of vulnerabilities. You should be involved in the industry in general. So if you want to be a pen tester, you should start now. Just start learning about web security, network security, system administration. All this you should just start from now. As more as you improve, you will be able to find cooler and more effective vulnerabilities. But you can even start finding vulnerabilities now. So, for example, the first vulnerability I found was actually on Google, and I was in zero skills in programming, zero skills in security in general. It was authentication flow vulnerability on Google. It was mostly a logic vulnerability that didn't require any technical experience. It was just like trying to break the logic of the program, and it worked. So you can't call yourself a penetration tester after you achieve something. You should always still learn, and you should always improve yourself. You should always learn more, and as far as you go, as far as you will be better, and you will be able to find better and high risk vulnerabilities. And for sure, in the beginning, it will be actually very tough, and you will have some hard times, like working for a whole week without finding anything useful. But if you want a breakpoint that once you pass, you should be able to find vulnerabilities after. I mean, if you pass this amount of time, it should be as an average time for a normal person to be to call himself a bug bounty hunter that can really start working. I think like 6 months is from zero to a bug bounty hunter that can really work and can start making money out of it. You can call, or can start really involving himself into the industry and getting some ranks. And it also requires a lot of patience. Okay, this is the word. So, any other questions, or it's okay?
Actually, I want to add to IMSA, if it's about penetration testing. Currently, if you go and perform a penetration testing on Google or on MyUTM or any website, you are breaking the law, because you are not allowed to do this if you are not signing a contract with Google or with whatever the company is, and they didn't give you the permission to perform a penetration testing or a vulnerability assessment test on them. So if you would like to learn penetration testing, this is a huge issue. So people in the industry, they thought about it and they said we should create platforms that can simulate this thing. And this is exactly what Hack the Box and Try Hack Me and VulnHub, few different platforms, all what they are aiming at is to give you a simulated environment that's going to allow you to perform a penetration testing on that. So with Hack the Box, they are literally giving you They give you a machine IP address. If you put the IP address on your web browser, it's going to open a website like a normal website, and then you should start hacking that website until you get into the server, and then you make a bind shell or reverse shell, the one that we were talking about with Tariq, the shells. So you would start hacking the website. For example, you could find a file upload vulnerability. So you upload a file and then you execute it as a PHP script, and then you get a shell, you get a reverse shell from there. Then you start hacking into the server until you find the user password and the root password, which by that way they have taught you how to perform a professional pen testing. So from my experience, I think HackTheBox is one of the good platforms to start with. A good thing about HackTheBox is that the machines are, when they are available, they're not retired. You wouldn't see a lot of write-ups, but once every machine is retired, there's a guy, his name is Epsic. He posts every Saturday a video on his YouTube channel. He explains every machine that he solves. So you can watch the way he solves. He has a good methodology. You can follow his methodology. It's a good methodology. He starts with scanning and then enumeration, and then he starts to examine his payloads. So if my personal experience is very limited, but I would say that you can start with spending 2 weeks, 3 weeks on the machine with no success. But once you do your first machine, the second machine is going to be easier, the third machine is going to be easier, and so on and so forth, until like you can do machines pretty fast than you have started. So just start doing it. That's my advice. So I think, guys, we are now at 1:30. It's in Malaysia 6:33. So I don't want to take your time much longer. I hope everyone has filled in the form. Thank you very much for attending, and I will try to upload today's meeting as soon as I can do that on